Alright, good morning, my esteemed followers. We shall be looking at deploying Web API to Microsoft Azure Web Apps using CI/CD, Microsoft DevOps, and GitHub repo today. Last time we spoke of deployment to a private server, a VM, which was very, very successful. So if you look at the screen, this is exactly what we did the last time. This is this is the application directly from the Visual Studio environment. So I just ran it. This is what we shall be deploying today. So our activities for the day shall be cutting across the Azure itself, the Azure environment, the application, which in the Visual Studio environment. Then we talk about the DevOps environment. What are the things we shall be doing? So let's start from the Azure environment. We shall be creating the resource group, the app service plan, the web app itself. We are equally going to be creating the database on Azure. Then we'll register the application and copy these feeds as you're seeing, the subscription ID, the subscription name, the principal ID, the service principal key, tenant, all of them we shall be, when we copy this, these are what we shall be using in the DevOps environment when we are creating the release pipelines. So it's good we start with Azure so that all these items will be available before we go into the redeployment. Now, what are the activities we'll be performing in the application? We'll just run the existing application against local DB. We will update the DB connection once we are back from the Azure so that we can have the new connection to Azure, which is remote now, not local environment. Then we run migration so that those tables will be created there. Then we can run existing solution or we go to deployment, try to add the solution to a Git repo, create the repo, the solution again in Azure environment that for us to build the pipelines and the release on, then create YAML file. These are what we shall be doing from the application. Then part of it is on the Azure. The DevOps itself, we shall be looking at creating the project. Like I said, we'll create the project, a project that will link the GitHub content with the Microsoft Azure DevOps environment. Then create pipelines, create a release, build, then we test the content and see how it comes out. We can equally update the controller later to see where we stand. So please stay tuned. We'll quickly go through it. And let me assume we already have a running Azure environment, GitHub, and the rest. For me, this is my Azure environment. This is the Azure environment I created. This is where we'll be creating the resources I just mentioned just now. So let's quickly start by creating a resource group. So in Azure homepage, this is what to create a resource group. You come here, you can see a resource group here. This resource group is for holding related resources, for cost, for differentiation. We could say for a particular department, we could base it on department so that tomorrow you will know which department created this resource, who is using it. If there is an amount to attach to it, you can equally quickly do that. So let's resource group. This is my subscription. This is the only one subscription I'm having right now in this Azure. So I can call this one AGB test resource group. Call it this. Then I will specify which region we want it to be. Is mostly the one that is closer to you. Let me use you can use anyone, but the one that is closer is better. Let me use West Europe. Quickly create this. I don't need tag. Tag is actually for filtering. So this is being created, validated past. It's being created. Okay. Okay, you can see on the screen AGB test source group. So after this, let's go back. Let's go back home. We need to now create, according to our plan here in Azure, we need to create the app service plan. The app service plan is equally very relevant than when you create it. It will equally help to create some plans down, some resources in that very location that you have chosen, because we will need all of them when you want to deploy the app itself. So let's say you can see app service plan here. Otherwise, you type it here. Type it app service plan. This is the marketplace. The app service plan. You can see app service plan there. Pick it. Let's see the one we'll be creating. We go to here. I think it's a bit slow. All right. Let's create one. I already have one running. App service plan. All right. So you can see the linking. The resource group you created before will be required during app service plan creation. Okay. The app service plan name in small letters, I could call this one AGB service plan. AGB test service plan. SP. Let me get it. Service, service P. Okay. All right. So we are targeting a window environment, and then which environment we equally want this to be. Let's say we are equally looking at okay. Look at anywhere. Region, look at West Europe too. Child, this free. This environment is free. This my Azure I created for this purpose. So this is the pricing plan. It is free for me. Okay, I move on. I can go with the default. I don't need tag. Like I said, tag is for separation. Mostly, if you want to filter cost, what cost belongs to a specific resource. So let's quickly do that. All right. Then we create. Okay, this is created. Let's quickly move. Let's go back home. We now need to we've created the resource group, we created the app service plan. We now need to create the web app. Create a web app itself. You can see web app here. This web app is more or less an IIS environment. This is where whatever we are pushing will come to straight. So it's for hosting a web application. So resource group, we go back to the first resource group we created. Then instance name, the web app name, we could call it AGB test web EMP reg. So we are using the registration application. So this how we're going to reference the application at the end of the day when it is deployed, along with Azure website.net. So it's a code that we are bringing on board, not a Docker container, not static website. The stack, the run stack, don't forget we're dealing with .NET 6.0, right? It's a window environment. Region, we can equally look at West. That will make it West Europe. West Europe here. It's within West Europe. I can use this. This will make all the resources to be in the environment. You can see the service plan. This is the service plan, the app service plan we created. It has already come here. So you see, we have linked all of them together. So I can move on to default. I don't need to create database. I know with this one straight. Basic authentication, disabled, continuous. This one will come from. Could enable this continuous integration. GitHub account. No, I don't need this. This is going to come from the other end, from the Azure environment. Assuming it's pulling from a repo directly, GitHub repo, I would have put the credentials and everything here, but that is not the case. All right, enable public access is on. Just take the default. I'm not having much to do here. So enable application insight for us to know what is happening. Tag, we don't need a tag. Like I told you, tag is for filtering. So we can now create. This is the summary preview. We can quickly create. So the web app has been created. Next, we have to now create the database. Let's go back home again. And you can see SQL database. You can type it here. SQL database is a marketplace. Comes out. Let's configure a database that the application will be using. Like we said, this before it was a local environment. This one is going to be using the remote one in Azure environment. So we don't need to bother ourselves buying database items when coming to Azure. So let's see the group. This is AGB test group. That's what the group we are creating the database on again. Let's look at the database name. So the database name, we can call it Azure Test DB this way. Then the server name. Let's we can create server name. Okay. The server name, we could just call it remote. We can just call it any name. Let's call it. Can call it remote DB. Call it. Can call it Azure remote DB. Let's quickly look at West Europe again. Central. It can be in any position, but West Europe. If we have a good redundancy, it is called that this does not it doesn't change anything. So showing error, let's quickly look at it. Okay, because it's a free resource, it's saying I don't have a right to create for this West Europe. Let me check some other options. So I pick Central US, it took it, which means I can go ahead with this. Then what am I going to be using? I need to use SQL authentication. So let me have the name and the password I'm going to use. So let me use admin 2024 here. This is server admin name. Let me copy what I have. Here. Okay, I'm going to use this password. Okay, sorry. Use this password. Open password again. Okay, I think we are good to go. The server name. Okay. Don't forget we are still creating the database. Okay, we have created the server name. Want to use SQL Elastic Pool? We don't need it for now. This is a production environment. Let's look at the compute, because there are some resources that will not be available for us because it's a free environment. All the resources involves money. Let's look at what we can get here. Okay, like I said, this compute involves a lot of cost, so that's why we are being careful about it. So this service and compute here, for me to move ahead, this hyperscale is more expensive, so we can use standard, which is budget friendly. I use this and apply. Okay, which means this is what we have here. All right. With your redundant backup, we might not need it for now. It's supposed to enable you to back up across a zone in case of any eventuality, but we don't need it for now. Connectivity method, we should allow public endpoints to be able to connect to this environment. Otherwise, even from your Visual Studio environment, you'll not be able to access it. Allow Azure Service resources to access the server. Allow Azure, definitely there's need. Add current IP address. Yes, to add your address so that your local environment will be able to connect to it. Default connectivity. Okay, we're going to take the rest default. Enable Microsoft Defender. We don't need those ones for now. Server identity, not really for now. Okay, tag additional settings. We don't need much for now. Okay, we don't need tag. This is a summary of what we have configured. Let's create. So the database could fail. It could succeed based on your plans and based on your subscription plan and the one you are equally taking for payment or for free. Let's watch. So the database is created successfully. What we need to do is to go back there because we'll be needing some items from it. Let's go back home. Go back to, we can see all resources. We see all resources. Let's look at the database we created just now. What is the database? Okay, this Azure DB test is the one we created just now. Let's see Azure DB test. Let's see what we can see in this environment. I need to quickly copy some items here. If you can see show database connection. This is very, very important here. If we look at it, you can see the password. Let's take this one for the password. It's required password so that when during our the items, I mention it, database connection string. We need this. We need to start taking some values that we use to populate this. If you move back, okay, I think that is okay for this. This is exactly what we need from the database. So we can quickly now move to go and register the application. That is the next stage. That registration will give a permission to protect your data and your application so that only the required people can see it. So we'll do that through Microsoft Intra ID, which is supposed to be the Active Directory. Okay, so we're in Active Directory here. So let's copy. If you look at what we said before, this let's copy this tenant ID. We have tenant ID. Among the items we need to populate is tenant ID, as you can see here. Let's populate this and keep tenant ID. All right, so we will look at app registration. You see this app registration, it matters a lot. So this will give a permission for your application to be used. You can deploy so many applications on top of this without any issue. So let's go ahead. Let's create new one. Okay, you can use the default organization info. We can go to it's a web application that I want to create. Let's move on. Okay, the name. Let's call it the app. Let's call it AGB test app reg. Test app reg. Okay, let's create it. This one will have a key at the end of the day. Okay, so you equally discover that what we put there is a dictionary, that is directory tenant ID. Let's copy these two. Let's go to our item. We have a tenant directory tenant ID. We will require them during the DevOps. Okay, you can see the application client ID too. I think we have it there. Application client ID. Or is it? application client ID, directory. Okay, you can see application, no, principal, directory. There should be application client ID, service ID. Okay, service, you can see service principal ID or application client ID. So this can come here. Right. Okay, we have the application client ID, we have the directory client ID. Okay, that is taking directory client ID. All right. Okay. So that's the overview. After taking this, let's go to the certificate and secret, because we equally need the certificate and secret. If you look at this item here, we have a certificate, we have a certificate principal key. We need this very much. Okay. Here we are. Let's create a new one. Description name. Let me just say HGB. Okay, HGB test applications. Test applications. Put it this way. Applications. How many days will it be? Will it last for? 90 days, which means you can use it within that 90 days to set up your solution. So let's copy the value. This value is what we require to use during the setup. Okay, is the value, as you can see here. The value. So we have basically this and the URL. The URL we're supposed to get it. Okay, let's move on. Okay, we have registered this application. The next thing, let's go and grant access to this application. So let's go to the subscription itself. You have a subscription. Okay. You can see the subscription name, subscription ID I will require. Okay. Let me copy this as subscription name. Let's go to our items, subscription name. Okay. Subscription ID, you can always get it anywhere, but let's try to copy it here. I hope it's correct. Subscription ID. All right. Okay. Let's go to that subscription. Let's try this access control here. This is where we can grant access. So we come here and pick add role assignment, both to application or to human being. This is where we can grant the access. Okay, so we are there. You need this job function role, this privilege. Let's take a contributor. Take contributor, remove. We are assigning it to service principal. Let's select member. Select member that I want to assign it to. The name just now, the name was HGB test red app, HGB test tab. So this is the app that we registered just now. So let's select it. Let's remove. Then okay, everything is fine. Which means we want to give this app that we registered this contributor. So what this will do is to make it possible for it to be able to have access to the content of the subscription. You can write, you can delete, you can do everything with that right. So that has been created, which means we are good to go. Let's quickly go back to our environment. Let's see our variable resources. Where's the web app? Okay, so this is the app service. You can see all of them coming here. The database are here and the rest. So let's pick this app service. This is the web app we created. what we need here, we just like I said, you can see the subscription ID. We can copy it if we are not very sure what we copied before. I can subscription ID. Let me put it here. Okay, I think it's correct. Okay, now is the URL. I need to copy this URL because when we run when the auto deployment is possible, at the end of the day, these are what we are going to be using. If you add Swagger to this URL, you will be getting your application the way we'll be running it. So I think we are done. We go to we have given granted access, connection name. This one will give it during tenant, directory tenant ID, principal, the key copied, principal. Okay, they have, yes, is service principal ID. We have it. The subscription name is subscription ID. Okay, these are basically what we need. The connection string and the password. You have to keep the password, every other information, because we will need it when connecting from the database. So that is that. Let Let's quickly visit the application to update the database concept DB app setting and run migration. So what we quickly need to do, we have existing migration in this application. We have to delete it totally so that the system will create another one. So let's move to the app setting. Okay, let's quickly, because we are going to replace this so that we face the one on the cloud, Azure cloud. Let's comment this. Let's go to where we kept the connection string. Okay, server. Let's copy the way it is here. See, the environment server. Okay, all right. V. And the next thing, let's can see the DB information and the rest. Okay, the password. Let's quickly change the password. That's why I said it's good we keep the password because it will be required. Without this password, we can't access this. Let's replace the password. All right. Okay. All right. For us to know that we're equally right. All right. Let me try to run a migration against this. So let me add this migration, add migration Azure database. Let's try to run it and see how it will come out. To run it against the Azure database, not the local anymore. So as you can see, the migration is successful because the connection string is correct. Let's update dash data is the dash database for it to commit to the database. Committing to the database did not work. It's a login failed for admin 2024. I think there was a mistake. Okay, password admin 2024. Let me try to find out. I believe the password is correct. Let me find out why. Alright. It simply means maybe the password is no, we made mistake. So we'll go back to now try to see how we can correct that. And try again. Let's watch out. Let's go to the Azure environment. This is the Azure environment. Let's quickly see it. And reset password to try again. So we are there. Let's try. Maybe when we're creating the password, we made a mistake. Let's copy it again. Try. Control C. New password. Okay. So see. We set the password is successful. So let's try to update again. Let's update the database. It will be okay right now. You can see it's creating. It's done. It's been successful. So let's try to log on locally to it. Let's try to log on locally to the through Visual Studio environment to see if we are there. Okay, this is the connection string from application. Okay, this connection string is the server. Let's copy from here to this 433 143. Yeah, the admin is okay. Let's get the password again. The password. Control C. Try to log on. The database has been created through migration. If it goes here, it means we are good to go. This is where we'll be ending this session today. Next would be okay. So you can see, let's quickly. All right, this is the database test DB remote test DB created. All right, and see the tables. Nothing will be inside right now. Outside the table, tables will be empty. Okay, you can see the tables. All of them are here. So this is the way we can connect to Azure database, even if it's a remote. If you use a Management Studio, we look at it as a local environment. So this is where we are going to end this Azure navigation. What we'll be doing next is to add the application to repo, then go to DevOps to create the CI/CD. All these credentials that we got here, these items that we have here, we shall now be using them. So as usual, as a way of encouragement, please kindly like my video, make positive comments, and then subscribe to my YouTube channel. So we will get it better. I see you in the next video. Thank you.